Fast X star shares vague and mysterious behind the Will BTS video. Production has continued to go off without a hitch on next year's blockbuster sequel Fast X, with Justin Lin having ceded control of the project to Louis Leterrier, for reasons that may or may not have a little or a lot to do with leading man, producer, and Toretto family patriarch Vin Diesel. Of course, such talk remains strictly in the realm of scuttlebutt until proven otherwise, but it's not as if there's a Dwayne Johnson or two out there willing to admit that Diesel isn't always the easiest person to work with. As things stand, the penultimate chapter in the Fast saga is still set to roar into theaters on May 19th next year, and we can at least guarantee that the cast will be getting behind the wheel of some vehicles. That groundbreaking revelation was shared by franchise newcomer, the Suicide Squad breakout, and Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3 debutant Daniela Melchior, who shared a BTS video confirming she'd be getting fast, but wouldn't comment on whether it'd be furious, or even what kind of car she was driving, where she was, or what she was doing. Can't show you what color and model is my car, can't show you where we are, can't show you who am I with, but I can tell you that Fast X gonna be epic. It's about as vague and mysterious as it gets, with the black and white sheen adding even more opacity to the proceedings. Obviously, people drive cars, and boats, and planes, and tanks, and spacecraft, in Fast and Furious these days, so there's hardly anything earth-shattering going on, but it does at least indicate that Melchior appears to have more sizable role than many may have thought. Where did the Guardians of the Galaxy go in Thor, Love and Thunder? The MCU trailers have the infamous reputation for misleading fans with promises that they have no plans of following through on. But no betrayal has hit us harder than the bare presence of the Guardians of the Galaxy in Thor, Love and Thunder when the trailers for the film seemingly hinted they would be in the thick of things and probably aid Thor in his fight against Gore. And while the film doesn't provide any obvious answers about the Guardians' future in the MCU, there are enough breadcrumbs to piece together a plausible answer. At the beginning of Thor, Love and Thunder, Thor is seen with the Guardians, his ragtag motley crew of misfit desperados, and is busy hogging their spotlight as he single-handedly wins a battle. We soon learn that the Guardians, along with the temporary members, had been catering to distress calls from different planets where Gore had killed gods on his revenge spree. But they soon part ways as, while assessing the countless distress calls, Thor notices one from his old friend, Lady Sif, who begs for help against Gore. Star-Lord suggests that Thor should go to save Lady Sif sans the Guardians as they have too many places their help is needed and the best idea would be to split up. While it makes total sense, we have a sneaking suspicion that the God of Thunder's crazy goats, who screamed loud enough to wake the dead, probably were the major reason fueling the suggestion. Though the official trailer of the film seemed to point at an adventure where the Guardians would join forces with the God of Thunder, Love and Thunder ended up being an exclusive Team Thor escapade. They left minutes after making their appearance and didn't pop back up, not even for a passing post-credit scene or to answer one of MCU's current pressing questions, where in the universe is Gamora? Or what is Gamora? So, where did they go? It is hard to imagine that after what we have seen the Guardians doing in the film, the team would simply be seen on some other out-of-the-blue mission the next time we see them. While Thor, Love and Thunder does feel rather disconnected from the rest of the MCU, even more than Moon Knight, it would be foolish to believe that there won't be any far-reaching consequences of Gore's god-killing crusade or that it all wrapped up with his death. Unless the MCU is planning to forget that Thor 4 exists, it won't be too far-fetched to say that while Thor was busy fighting Gore, the Guardians were stuck dealing with the mess he made on other planets by killing gods, which includes the resultant power vacuum as well as the ensuing chaos. While Kang remains the big bad of Phase 4, we can expect the after-effects of Gore butchering the gods to be felt in the next few Marvel projects, especially where the Guardians are concerned. It is safe to say that when they left Thor, Korg, and the Screaming Goat/Banshees, aka Tooth Grinder and Tooth Gnasher, they made their way to another planet in dire need of quick help in dispatching some world-ending phenomena or perhaps a baddie who reared their head after some all-powerful god died. Given the MCU's rather convoluted timeline at the moment, it remains to be seen where the future adventures of the Guardians will fit in. Will they be putting out the Gore-induced chaos at the same time as the events of Love and Thunder, or will they be strictly dealing with what happens after? We also have to entertain the possibility that MCU might not have any long-term plans for Gore and his massacre. In that case, the upcoming holiday special on Disney Plus may see James Gunn wrapping up the loose strings of Thor's latest heroic adventure while hopefully answering where the alternate Gamora is, as well as whether there is any hope for Star-Lord to actually have a love story going forward. This in turn will allow his favorite team to tackle their super exclusive mission, which will include facing off against their new, super powerful adversary, Adam Warlock, in the director's last film with them, i.e., Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3, which will serve as the conclusion of the trilogy. Thor: Love and Thunder. What is Valhalla? Valhalla explained. After landing on Midgard in 2011, Thor looked like an unlikely candidate to set an MCU record for solo movies. Jump forward 11 years, and Thor: Love and Thunder is the Thunder God's fourth outing, never mind his avenging antics. While his mighty teammates had flitted between genres in their big-screen solo outings, Thor's MCU journey has been determined to bend genres to a cosmic level. Captain America had the political thriller of Captain America: The Winter Soldier. Tony Stark had the 80s-style buddy movie Iron Man 3. So far, Thor has jumped between mythological monster movie, fantasy, comedy space opera, and rom-com. In the Marvel Universe, we're familiar with the idea that gods are not higher beings in the traditional sense, but inhabitants of other worlds, planes, and dimensions. Thor's MCU journey has embraced the cosmic and mythological aspects of Odinson's story. As he came into his own with his third film Thor: Ragnarok, it looked like the franchise had reached its mythical peak, the long-predicted fall of the gods that wiped Asgard from the universe. But along with Avengers: Endgame, Ragnarok was just the start of a new chapter for the god Tony Stark once called Point Break. Thor: Love and Thunder is less drenched in Norse mythology than his other movies. Asgard has been rebuilt on Earth while the universe has widened to include different myths and all-powerful gods. While it features a Viking longboat propelled along the Rainbow Bridge by two giant goats, the plot centers on the crusade of Gore the God Butcher, as picked up from the pages of Marvel Comics. The philosopher Confucius is credited with the telling phrase, "Seek revenge, and you should dig two graves, one for yourself." Thor: Love and Thunder is essentially a revenge film, which means some characters have to face the consequences. That said, while it opens with the motivation for Gore's vengeance, it ends with a moment of hope. Jane Foster and Thor's relationship is the emotional heart of Love and Thunder. Her connection to Thor gives Jane a chance to overcome her devastating cancer. Thanks to a request her ex-boyfriend made of his precious hammer, Mjolnir, she's given a second and mighty life, but none of the gods in the movie or a trip to eternity can't stop Jane's fate. Fortunately, Norse mythology has a built-in happy ending. As Jane reaches her final destination, there's time for an unexpected return. Asgardian Heimdall greets her in Valhalla, looking far more relaxed in his afterlife. So what is Valhalla, and are these characters dead? Earlier in Thor: Love and Thunder, Thor responded to an appeal of Lady Sif, finding her as the only survivor after a battle with Gore. The Thunder God saves Sif's life by clarifying Valhalla's entry requirements, a rare chance for Thor to use his mind rather than his might. As he explains, a warrior has to die in battle to enter Valhalla, so Sif wouldn't qualify if she died alone after the battle. In Marvel Comics, Valhalla first appeared in the pages of Thor in 1968. The realm has been revisited and revised through the decades, notably in the Marvel Ultimate Universe. When Thor died in that continuity, he was forced to make several high-risk deals with Hela, the realm's ruler in mangled mythology. In the current Marvel Comics continuity, Valhalla has been relocated from a remote region on Asgard to a bubble on Niflheim's vast and icy plains. The MCU built on the realm's role as a hidden paradise dimension, where the specially chosen will remain for eternity. You can never say never in comics. Love and Thunder's jokey run-through of the many times Thor lost his brother Loki was proof of that. So there's still a chance fallen heroes will return to the MCU, including Natalie Portman's Jane and Idris Elba's Heimdall. That sounds like the MCU's equivalent of Valhalla's random entry requirements in Norse mythology. Valhalla isn't full of every hero slain in battle. Only half the fallen make it, chosen and led from the battlefield to paradise by Valkyries. Love and Thunder confirms the existence of Valhalla in the MCU, although it doesn't entirely dispel the idea that it's part of Asgardian myth or who has made it. Odin didn't meet the entry requirements despite hearing his wife's call and evaporating in a gold cloud during Thor: Ragnarok. It's painfully unclear how Jane qualified for the same reason. Neither was in battle when they died. But as Dr. Foster, not Lady Thor, did make it to the afterlife, perhaps Loki and Thor's hope that their father is feasting in the Great Hall came true too. MCU fans just can't stop roasting the CGI in Thor, Love and Thunder. You can always count on Marvel movies to be visually stunning, even if they generally fail to impress the critics or the audiences. In the unfortunate case of Thor, Love and Thunder, it seems that even a grandiose production design costing the studio upwards of $250 million hasn't managed to redeem the overall lackluster VFX work in Phase 4. We couldn't possibly tell you why Marvel Studios is consistently failing to meet the higher standards of the Infinity Saga, even when it's something that Marvel Studios or Industrial Light and Amp, Magic, which handles the bulk of VFX work, should be veterans of at this point. Does it have to do with the increased workload, since they now have to work on several MCU television series on top of the annual movie releases? Or is it simply an oversight by the powers that be, who must have realized by now that fans are going to show up in theaters to watch an MCU movie regardless of what they put out? Whatever the answer to that question, it seems that audiences can't stop making fun of some terrible CG shots in Love and Thunder. Many thousands of fans simply can't believe this is a $200+ million movie. I think that, at the very least, we shouldn't just gloss over the obvious mishandling of CGI, which doesn't even have anything to do with the director or the filming crew. If you need more time to fledge these movies out, Marvel, take it. When someone tells me there's nothing wrong with VFX in recent Marvel movies and Thor looked visually stunning after it has a woman with a CG helmet that looks like it's not even on her head. In fairness, they have definitely hit the nail on the head with those lightning effects, though for a movie that literally revolves around Thor, the god of thunder, I'm not sure if that should even be considered a compliment.